I posted a video a while back ago, not too long ago, of building a motor. I was planning to go to Irwindale Drag Day, and I did go, but I had issues with the car. The clutch, when you press the clutch in, the car was taking off on its own. Once you had it in gear, it was really hard to get it in gear. So we scrambled, tried to get it working, ran out of time, and we think it's either the needle bearings on the gland nut are froze up, or maybe an issue with the pressure plate. So I bought a new Kennedy stage 1 pressure plate for it, got a new gland nut for it. So we got to pull the motor out, swap those pieces, put the motor back in, see how she does, and hopefully that fixes it. But those are the goals for this weekend. So I'll try to bring you guys along as best I can, get some of that, if not all of it, on video, and we'll go from there. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright guys, so I finally got the, not this bug, but my other bug is outside, which I actually don't think you guys have seen yet. So maybe when I'm done with this, I'll go out there and shoot some footage of it if it's still light outside. But I finally got it squared away. It's not 100% yet, but it is drivable, which is a huge improvement. What we found when we pulled the motor, we had planned to swap the pressure plate, the gland nut, and try to get the clutch cable adjusted properly. And once we pulled the motor out and really got in there, we noticed that the arm that the clutch cable goes into, it was bent. It was bent backwards, probably as a result of the pressure plate being too strong for the stock arm. So more than likely that was one of the huge issues we were running into, that we were really just scratching our heads on, that we didn't catch right away. So actually I have it right here. So this is the piece, and the clutch cable goes through here. There's a little wing nut that attaches, and doesn't look too bent right now because I was able to bend it back. Basically, to see how weak it was, I stuck a flathead screwdriver in it and then just pulled it back, and it just bent very, very easily. So, and you can see it's cocked that way too, and that happened while we were trying to get it off. So we couldn't get this off the car. It just didn't want to budge. I ended up putting a ball joint removal tool. So it's got like a fork that comes in, and I got it in, and then it's got another deal that comes in and presses down, and then a bolt. You screw in a bolt, and it's supposed to pry out as it presses in to pop it off. So I did that, and we got it to move a hair, but just not enough to get it to budge. And I was actually really surprised we couldn't get it off. But in the process of doing that, if you take a look, let me grab a light. It's almost like it's peened now. You can see where the tool had slipped off. And so once that happened, I was like, okay, this thing is never going to come off now, at least not while it's in the car, where that line is. So that goes all the way through where, from where the arm slides on all the way down to the casting of the arm. There's just a, you know, a hunk of metal that's divoted in, like it's peened. It's peened on there now. So, knowing that it wasn't going to come off, as a result of that, you know, I didn't think there was any hope really, other than pulling the transmission, which in a swing axle car, you know, you basically pulling the whole rear end out. Not like with an IRS bug where you just disconnect the CVs. So knowing that that was going to be the case, I didn't want to do it because I had a couple other things going on, and I didn't want to leave the car up on jack stands while I tried to get this transaxle issue figured out. And my dad actually had an idea of cutting the shaft, which is why you see this the way it is. So this typically sits on here like so. And so what we did was we cut it, which allowed us to pull this end out of the transaxle and then pull this end out. And I had a spare empty, or halfway empty swing axle case in my shed, and luckily it had the arm and the, you know, this piece that holds the throwout bearing still on. So we yanked that out of that transaxle, knocked the bushing out. The one that was in the car had this weird, super thin outer bushing and then an inner bushing. So we pulled that out of that one and then tapped in the bushing from the other transaxle, which was a real pain in the ass to do while I was on the car, because there's this set pin it's got to line up just right with the bushing. The bushing's got a little hole in it, so they're not making contact, but the little set screw barely sits inside the hole in the bushing and keeps it from rotating. And it would be super easy to do when the trans is out of the car, but when it's in the car, there's not enough room to get back there to see if your bushing is lined up or not. So there was a bit of trial and error trying to get that to line up, but once we did, you know, we got that screw tightened down, and there was no binding or anything, so we didn't crush the bushing. So we nailed it spot on, I think on like the third try. So we got that swapped out, and then we swapped the pressure plate with a Kennedy Stage 1. This is the old one that was in it, and this is an old school one. It's got a Diakin in it, which is this piece, and it's got a date on it right here of April 1994 to give you an idea of how old this is. And if you notice, it's angled here, so the centering ring isn't sitting flat, and I think that was also part of the problem. And some of these are loose, like I can pull this one up, but I can't move this one at all, and then this one I can move. So I think there's an issue with this pressure plate, and I think that was a big reason as to why, like, the car was just acting funny. You know, it was really hard getting gear. Once you got it in gear, even if the clutch pedal was all the way in, the car would chatter like it was moving, and it would move on its own. And we ended up adjusting the cable like really, really far in, and the clutch was releasing almost on the floor. No matter where we had the adjustment, it didn't seem to matter. So combination, I think, of the pressure plate and then the arm that the cable goes in being bent, I think those were the two biggest issues. There was nothing wrong with the Glen nut. Once I stuck my finger in there, I could tell the needle bearings were all good. We re-greased them just to be safe, but they seemed fine. So the car now, it's running and driving, runs real good, but I haven't tried to take off hard, but I know if you do a quick pull, like first, second gear change, the clutch will slip. And I think the difference is the old pressure plate. I think it was, it's a stiffer plate. I'm not sure what the rating is on it. It doesn't say anywhere, but it's got to be at least a stage 2, 2,100 pound, if not a stage 3, because that clutch pedal was crazy hard. When you pressed it in, you could see, your seat move back, and you could see it pulling up the floor pan just from the amount of force it took to push that clutch pedal in with that pressure plate I just showed you. So it's got an MP HD clutch disc in it right now. So I think what I'm going to do is I actually have for this car back here, I have a Diakin, which is Exidy clutch disc. So I think I'm going to pull that empty one out and then put the Diakin clutch disc in. I mean, that, you know, everything's still new. There's not even, you know, I've run around the block a couple times, so I'm not worried about wear patterns or whatnot, or having a used pressure plate now and a used flywheel or whatever. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference with how few miles are on the car, but that's the next goal, is to get the clutch disc swapped out, and hopefully the Diakin disc will hold the power that the car is putting out. You know, the stage 1 Kennedy plates are supposed to be able to hold 180 pound-feet of torque, and I don't think I'm anywhere near that rating. So, like I said, hopefully just a clutch disc swap and it'll be good to go. But probably do that this weekend. So once again, another weekend, motor will come out, swap the disc, motor goes back in, and then we'll take it for a test drive. So carburetors are almost dialed in. I ended up playing with the jetting, went up on the main jets. I think it's got 165s in it now. We started with 145s, and there was a bit of a stumble and hesitation on the transition from the idles to the mains. So that got much better, but still a little bit there. And I think what I want to do is go down a size on the idle jets and go from a 60 to a 55, and then see how it acts. Readjust everything, resync them, which I'll have to get done anyway because we have to pull the intakes and the carbs off to get the motor in and out. So that's the plan for this weekend. I'll once again try to record as much as I can. I don't get everything because, quite honestly, I'd rather get it done than get it on video, especially having, only have one camera and it gets in the way sometimes. So I'll do the best I can. So keep an eye out for it. This weekend I'll get it recorded. So in a couple days after that, hopefully I'll get the video posted. But I'm gonna head outside and see if it's still light out and show you guys the car, and maybe start it up, fire it up, get it warmed up, and let you guys listen to it. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Always willing to help when I can. All right, later, guys.